Thanks for joining us at Right On Replicas, where we're proud to bring you the best scale model kit reviews on the planet.
This review is brought to you in part by Dean's Hobby Stop in Owasso, Michigan. Dean's has one of the Midwest's largest selections of used kits at great prices. They also feature new kits and supplies as well. Call Dean's to get their mail order list featuring hundreds of vintage kits, or check their website for great deals on both new and classic models. This review covers the Lost in Space Chariot. It's a 1/24 scale kit from Moebius, number 902. Now, the original Lost in Space Chariot was a fully functional vehicle that was designed and built as a prop for the Lost in Space television show from 1965 to 1968. Now, the Chariot was a particularly nice addition to the show. It was built to transport the family on planet-side trips. Now, it was based on an actual chassis from the Thiokol Snowcat, but everything above it was designed by scientists and engineers who at the time were thinking about what things would be needed for extraterrestrial travel. Now, the kit was new and released in 2008 by Moebius Models, and they have some other Lost in Space kits too. Now, this one has over 175 parts. They're molded in silver black vinyl with clear and some metal parts, and when the kit is finished, it measures 4 inches wide, 13 inches long, and 8.5 inches tall. It also includes a little robot B9 that's about 3.5 inches tall. I think I hear Newt. He's the program director back there behind the glass tapping. Come on in here, Newt. You got a question?
You said this is a model of a real vehicle, right? So, is it still around today?
Hey, that's a good question, Newt. A fellow named Chris claims to have found the remains at an old ski resort and is trying to restore it. But John Antonellis of Massachusetts has built an excellent working replica of the vehicle. And you just look that up on the internet and you'll find it. It's really nice. And here are the contents of the kit. As you can see, they were nicely molded. And there are some other parts, some clear parts in the vinyl pieces we'll talk about later, but we'll be mostly using a variety of glues here. Super glue for some fragile parts, even some liquid cement for most of the construction, and sometimes white glue for some of the window glass and clear parts. Now, in what must have been one of the worst packaging jobs I have ever witnessed, many of the styrene parts were packaged in along with tires and treads, etc. And maybe it was just a bad sample, but even one of the treads was missing in this kit. But as you can see, the vinyl pieces self-destructed, unfortunately, into the styrene pieces, and so they were basically destroyed. Repair was out of the question. So I contacted Pegasus Hobbies, who had bought Moebius models in 2018, and they were well aware of the issue. I talked to customer service at Moebius, and through emails with Eric Soley there, he offered a repair kit for a nominal fee. And so here are also the vinyl and glass pieces that came with the repair kit. As you can see, we now have some perfect examples to go ahead and construct our model. I also noticed that the instructions that came with this kit are very non-typical for American models, almost like the Snap Kit Asian instructions that used to come on the back of the box. It's simply pictures of the completed model with arrows indicating which parts are which, but not necessarily how they go together, except for some explanation. So here's where you're going to get some instruction on how to successfully build this kit. So the first thing after reading it, I decided to do was paint some things. And then I assembled the body of the parts numbers 2, 4, and 5, and then glued in the benches 6 and 8 and masked off the clear parts. Then I taped off the interior of the clear roof and masked off the framework there on the exterior of it. Now, be careful, take your time, and there's a lot of clear area here to cover. I did the same thing for the dome and gave all of the parts except the clear parts a coat of black primer to locate flaws and helped the flat aluminum look a little deeper when I painted that. Next, I gave the appropriate parts a coat of orange, and this includes the clear parts. The orange will show on the inside of the clear parts as the framework. And I found that some Tamiya X6 was just right with a couple of coats, but it's time consuming and I needed to get some more. It's going to take quite a few coats to get it just right. Once you're finished with the orange, I then gave, and you should too, the supposed aluminum pieces a coat of flat aluminum XF16. Now we can start construction with the driveline, and we're going to paint the rims white. The axle covers and drive sprockets are a metallic gray, and then after pressing the tires onto the rims, glue the axle covers to the rims and the drive sprockets. Now after those have dried, place the metal axles through the chassis and press the rims and drive sprockets onto the ends of the axles, making sure that they are at the rear, the sprockets that is. Now glue the ends of the tracks to each other using some super glue. Now the tracks have some molding flaws on them, so place the flaws to the inside of the model so that they're more hidden from sight. And the fit of the track isn't ideal, and it makes them you have to just adjust it so that it kind of looks okay from the outside. And now we'll do some work on the underside, the body there, and the parts were painted earlier, and the interior parts, seats, cushions, seat belts that were previously painted orange and flat black on the buckles and on the seat belts were then painted later with a chrome pen. Now the control panels and the side panels, I used the chrome pen there under the clear colors that will go on them to give it some reflectivity. Now they were painted with some chrome X11 and detailed with some metal, metallic gray, some clear red, some clear blue, clear yellow, orange, and that chrome pen for highlights. I found some of the sprue attachment points to be large but easy to clean up. And after the paint had dried, I glued in the floor panels, the side consoles, and the center console, as well as the dash. Time to work on the interior now. So first I glued together the curtain halves, and they had some ejector pin marks on them, but they needed some attention and cleaning up, but they were on the inside, and I should say they were on the glue side of the halves, so clean those up best you can. Then I assembled the scanner, and while they were drying, I glued the seats and the robot box to the interior, and I painted the curtains and the scanner assembly chrome silver and set them aside to dry. I detailed the scanner the same way that I had done the dash and the consoles. Now I glued the curtains to the interior, then placed the scanner on the center console, not using any glue so that it could slide into the slots. Next I painted up the laser rifles, wood stocks, gunmetal barrels, and Cooper tips and set them aside to dry. I had previously painted the control sticks and transmission lever with that orange and metallic gray combo. Next I glued the control sticks and the transmission lever into the interior tub, and now you can glue the curtains to the interior and finally the rifles. And now we're going to work on the robot B9 and gather up the parts for him, and there's an option to either leave the lower half off, those are parts M, O, and I, off of the model, and just display them on a box at the back of the Chariot, but I decided to build him as a full robot, and so I glued the bottom half of the robot together, then I painted the legs metallic gray, and the very bottom is a flat aluminum, and then I painted the tracks a little bit of flat black highlight. Next, glue the small parts into the bottom ring of the body and the larger clear part into the front of the body, and then glue the two body parts together and then assemble that to the bottom ring. Now glue the two sensors to the neck and glue the neck to the sensor, and then glue that whole assembly to the top of the body. You can sandwich the sensor now inside the two halves of the clear dome, and then attach the upper neck to the bottom of the clear dome and attach this assembly to the neck. Next, install the arms and the claws to the body, and I detailed the sensors, claws, and the other parts with the transparent colors over a chrome base. And once again, the upper glass portion is like the old canopies in the old model kits. So I had to, there's no relief on the inside, no raised ribs for the interior. So what I did was simply mask the entire interior, and then on top I painted the exterior color framework, or the interior color framework, on the ribs that are up there, and then over the top of that, I painted with the exterior color. So after removing all the masking tape, then you can glue the control handles, the temperature gauge, and the rear hatch hinges to the interior of the canopy. And once you have removed all of the masking tape, it actually looks pretty good. So it'll take some patience, but you can do that now. And there'll be some masking of interior pieces. You can see panels and the curtains here. Now you can go ahead and add the control handles, the temperature gauge, and the rear hatch hinges to the interior of the canopy. And next, glue the curtains to the doors, and the attachment points for the curtains to the doors, they'll show through. There's not much you can do to hide them. Well, we've come to the last stage here, step 6, with the exterior details. Now glue the canopy to the lower body, being careful not to get the glue on the door hinges. And my canopy was slightly warped, so when I glued it on, I had to hold it in place with some clamps. Having left the clamps in place overnight, you want to carefully remove those so that you don't scratch the glass by removing them, just as you did when you put the clamps in place. And now you can put the gun hatch, which is the clear bubble, on top of the canopy, and then place the spotlights, the headlights, the front and rear running lights, front bumpers, rear bumpers, and the side ladder parts onto the canopy, being careful with the glue. Make sure you get it right into the receivers. Now you finish up by adding the satellite dish there in front, and then the rear cargo rack and the cargo, along with the rear solar panel. And as you can see, all the parts were appropriately finished in what is very close to the TV show replica. And there you have it. Your model is finished. I had but a few pieces left over that I never really found placement for on the diagram, so maybe some of you sharp folks know where they would go on your kit. Well, there it is. Your kit is finished. There you have it. It's not meant for the beginner. The instructions are kind of vague at times, a little bit jumbled. There's a correction sheet for some of the pieces, and it's not really separated into small bites like most kits. Now, the fit of the parts wasn't bad, with the exception of the canopy and the tracks, but clamps and adjustments will take care of that. Now, the glue points for the curtains on the doors were visible through the clear parts, but that's the way the kit was made. But even with its flaws, come on, this is a great example of a 60s movie prop. Back then, they didn't have CGI or computer imagery. They actually had to make something that looked like it, or actually was like a vehicle. So they came up with this one. We're glad they did, and we're glad that Moebius built it. And with a little extra work and some patience, you can come up with a stunning example to put on your display shelf. So if I were you, I'd buy one and put it on my shelf. We hope you liked this premium scale model kit review, and so that you don't miss any more, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can do that by clicking on the icon in the lower right of any of our reviews.